Troy Welters, welcome to Sports Spectrum. How are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's good to see you. Good to talk to you. We actually spoke very briefly at Super Bowl Media Week in Los Angeles via Zoom. Hopefully, you guys can get back, and then we can get back and we can talk again in person. But I think it would be a great place to start there. Obviously, the season didn't end the way you would hope, but man, did you guys achieve some amazing things when you look back at 2021 and that season. What reflections, what memories, what blessings maybe, or even that word, come to mind when you think about what you guys were able to accomplish last year?
Yeah, last year was a phenomenal season. Blew everyone's expectations. Uh, just how everything came together. It really started last May, this time last year, when we had probably 100% participation in voluntary activity. And right there, it showed the type of team that we had, guys that were unselfish, willing to come together, willing to sacrifice. And so I think we bonded as a team then, and just to go through the season, the ups and downs that we had, losing on the road to the Jets, and then coming back and losing to Cleveland, and then winning a few, and then losing to the Chargers and the Chargers, and then we lost to the 49ers towards the end, and then we went on a run, and just the ups and downs and how the guys just stayed together and stayed consistent, and the culture, we were unselfish the whole way, and then just to see the city behind us and to see what we did for the city was just phenomenal. It was truly a blessing. The players we were able to coach. I mean, just the whole season was just phenomenal. It didn't end the way we wanted to, but the journey, the process, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
And yet, so much has to go right for you to even get to a Super Bowl, right? I mean, you were a player and played for many years and never got to, as far as I know, got to go to a Super Bowl. So to see that come together makes you probably realize, 32 teams are all trying to chase the same thing that you guys tried to chase last year, and you were able to get to the biggest game of the year. There's so much has to go right, doesn't it?
It does. It does. That's why it's truly a blessing if you get to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's really, to me, it's God's hand involved in it. To stay healthy the entire year, and a play here and there that went our way. I mean, it truly was a blessing and a great opportunity to play in the biggest game in the world, and to be a part of that was truly an honor and a blessing. And it didn't end the way we wanted to, but like I said, just the journey and the memories and this team, just something you always remember.
I think a lot of us are excited to see what the Bengals can do to follow up 2021, obviously. But one person that we really were excited about watching last year coming into this year is Jamar Chase. And when you see a rookie perform at the level that he was able to perform last year, oh my gosh, we're so excited about the encore, right? The second year, and how he's going to improve from year one to year two. But I just want to ask you, because you're in that locker room as the wide receivers coach and in that meeting room with him every day, what did you see in him early on last year? Or did you even see the potential that made him? I mean, to me, it was maybe the second greatest rookie season behind Randy Moss. That's what comes to my mind just as a football fan. Some people could say Jamar Chase had an even better year than Moss had in 1998. But when you saw that, what was it about him that made him so special, and to see him blossom like that the way he did?
Well, leading up to the draft, just speaking with him on Zoom and getting to know him, he's a humble kid. Not a young man of many words, but he's focused, he's hungry, but he's humble. And so, one of the things we talked about during that Zoom and before the draft was that if we drafted him, fifth overall, the expectations I had for him was to come in and be rookie of the year. And so we spoke that into existence then, and that was my goal for him. That was a goal of his, was to come in and be an impact player. And from day one, as soon as the draft was over, I think that next Sunday or the following Sunday, he was going through the playbook and going through the formations. And so that's one of the things he did. He learned the offense. He took the extra time, the evenings, to really learn the playbook, so that when he got on the field, he knew exactly what to do. how to do it. He could play fast. He could let his athletic abilities take over. He stayed healthy. That's one of the things that as a rookie, to go through the entire season, training camp, the season, the playoffs, and never have one injury. I don't think he missed a practice the entire season. Just tells you the type of physical training. He's fit. He takes care of his body. Is truly phenomenal. And then he had his ups and downs. I mean, he had his moments in training camp when he seemed like he couldn't catch anything. And we had a long talk after the Washington the football team after that game. And he came in my office the next morning, and we talked about life, talked about preparation, talked about what it was going to take. I told him that God had special things, special plans for him, great things planned for him, and that the enemy didn't want him to accomplish that. And so he was going to get attacked. There was going to be some adversity that he's going to have to go through. And we prayed together, and just it was just a great time before everything even manifested. And then each week he just went out and exceeded the previous week. But through it all, he just stayed humble, continued to work extra, and to have a tremendous season.
Football is such a wonderful parallel to life with the lessons you can learn from God, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And that's why I'm blessed to be a coach, because you just learn so much. And I kind of equate coaching to my faith, in that, once you go on the field, it's out of my hands. You can coach the guys up throughout the week on the sideline, but they have to go out and make the plays. They have to go perform. And so it's kind of like faith, man. It's some things you just got to let go, leave it up to God. It's in his hands. You can control what you can control, do what God has called you to do, and just have faith and understand that God's, he's in the midst, and he's working it all out.
So what is the greatest blessing you learned from going through last year for you personally, Troy? Not for the team or any experiences that the team had on the field, or even just getting to the Super Bowl, but for you as a coach who's trying to grow and learn in your own, walk of life. What was that lesson that God taught you when you look back on 2021?
And don't ever limit God. Don't ever limit him. Don't ever put him in a box. Expect more. God can blow our minds. But we got to have that attitude. And I think sometimes we limit God. We put him in a box. The guy's a big God, and he can do exceedingly abundantly above all we could ask or think. And that's what he did that last year, not only on the field, but off the field. My son was born, and he went through, lost some oxygen during birth. And, he was in a children's hospital for 10 days and wasn't sure what was going to happen. And he's fine, 4 months old now, fine, no issues, no effect. And God just blew our mind even in that situation. And so now I'm expecting, that's the expectancy that I have, is that we serve an awesome God. We serve a big God, and he's able to do things that we can't even imagine, but we got to let him, and we got to expect him to do that.
How were you able to get that sleep, Troy? I'm glad your son's okay, but that's a young boy who's a baby, and you're trying to go through all of that and still be a coach, and you're not getting a lot of sleep just as a coach, right?
Yeah. But God will keep you. And
Yes.
there were many days in the hospital, and actually during that time, my wife had COVID, so she couldn't be in the hospital. So I was in the hospital. God provided. He provided strength, and we found the ways. Actually, before we played the Ravens, so it was kind of during that stretch where we had to win, and it was tremendous just seeing the hand of God in my son's life, and then also seeing it as the end of the season played out was just just awesome.
And your son's okay? He's doing well now?
Yeah, he's doing great.
It's great to hear. Troy Walters is our guest here on Sports Spectrum, the Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers coach. I want to learn about your journey a little bit. Obviously, for those that are football fans, they remember you as a player, but there's a background that maybe a lot of people don't know when they hear about your story and growing up and ending up at Stanford and having a good career there and then getting to the NFL. So go back to maybe right before you got to Stanford and maybe rank faith, football, and family in those, particular, whatever order you think is the right order to rank them. Where was all of that for you as you were heading into college as a young man?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in a football family. My dad is a retired football coach. And so I grew up around the game. I was a ball boy. I was on the field on Saturdays when he was in college. I was around the players. Um, I also grew up in the church. And so just that balance, I think in high school, I knew a lot about God. I knew a lot about religion, about Jesus, but I didn't have a personal relationship. I didn't put him first. If I were to order my priorities, it was football, family, and then faith. Went to church on Sundays because I had to. But the other days of the week, it was all about ball. Went to high school in Texas, and Texas is big for high school football, and so for me, it was all about being the best football player, being the most popular guy. Seeing how many girls I could have. That was my focus, honestly, and it's funny how just God's hand and His protection and His favor, um, you know, led me to Stanford because I didn't have many scholarships coming out of high school, offers coming out of high school. And so my senior year, my father actually took a job with the Minnesota Vikings. And my mom and I stayed in Texas. He was in Minnesota, played my senior year. I'd send tape to the Minnesota for him to watch. I actually was a ball boy during that summer before my senior year with the Vikings. They had Brad Johnson, Andre Ware, Gino Torretta. So it was a great group of quarterbacks. I was catching the balls from them. And then during Christmas time, I went back out there, and that was when Bill Walsh had just retired at Stanford. They actually hired Tyrone Willingham to be the head coach at Stanford. Tyrone Willingham was a running backs coach with the Vikings on the staff that my dad was on. And so I went out there during Christmas, and during that whole time, Coach Willingham would watch tape. My dad's office was right next to his, so he'd watch tape of my high school. And basically, I got into Stanford because of Tyrone Willingham, and he knew what I could do. He had seen me in training camp as a ball boy and believed in my talents. And so, that's the reason I went to Stanford, is because Coach Willingham got the job and he believed in me. And so when I went to Stanford, now I'm on my own. I didn't have to go to church. Parents didn't force me to do anything. So Sundays I'm sleeping in, I'm watching NFL on TV, but there was a big void. The things that I put first, God began to take those away. I redshirted. So He kind of took football away from me. I wasn't a man. I wasn't, succeeding on the field or anything like that. And so it was empty. Freshman year, there was a void, emptiness. And I started meeting with Jim Stump, our spiritual chaplain at the time. And we just started getting in the Word, and he showed me what a true personal relationship with Jesus Christ meant, what it looked like. And my freshman year, that's when I rededicated my life to Christ. And it's been a journey ever since.
So what happened after that, as far as college goes? Because you're still young and you're still trying to, prove yourself on the field and certainly have that opportunity to eventually get to the NFL. But what happened? What changed after that for you?
Yeah, just priority, just understanding that, I got to make sure God is first. And then there's times, in seasons that it was about me and still putting football ahead of God. And, He did some things, worked on my heart where, he wanted me to always have Him first, put Him first, and make sure I had the right priorities in place. And like I say, faith it's a journey. There's ups and downs, there's struggles, you fall, you slip, but you get up, and God provides that grace for you to get up. And that's what you learn in this relationship. It's a relationship. And now that I have kids, just looking back, it's just God is so gracious. And when we do fall and we do turn our backs, just like a loving father, he's right there to with open arms to welcome us back. And so it's been a tremendous journey. And even throughout college, just to see the hand of God on my life in football, and allowing me to accomplish so many things at Stanford and be around so many great people. And then my senior year, winning the Biletnikoff Award as the top receiver in the country, and winning the Pac-10 at the time, and playing in the Rose Bowl was just a tremendous way to finish my college career. Ended up getting 2 degrees. And so just the favor to get to Stanford, and then just the experience of Stanford and all that God allowed me to experience was awesome.
Yeah. And then you mentioned that team, the Vikings. They're the ones that come calling in the 5th round in 2000, and you end up with this team that your dad had coached for years. What was that like, kind of coming into the NFL, getting your opportunity? That's what every player dreams of, is just an opportunity, right? And then they can prove themselves. But then maybe from the spiritual perspective, acclimating yourself into this professional football world, that's much different than the amateur world.
Yeah, yeah. I was blessed to be around my dad and just be around him, when he was with the Vikings and just see what it took, what the guys, what they did, the training, being around them and just seeing the whole culture and environment. So I think that gave me a little leg up on some of the other guys, rookies coming in, because I kind of knew what it was going to be like. And I had a chip on my shoulder. I was drafted in the 5th round, felt like I should have gone higher,
Sure.
but understand my size and everything. And so I kind of had a chip on my shoulder and wanted to go out there and prove that I belong. And then spiritually, you go from Stanford and to the NFL, to the biggest stage of the world, and just all the the temptation and the different things that come your way as a professional athlete can try you and can test your faith. And I think the biggest thing for me was to be surrounded by other believers, to help you walk your faith out, and to make sure you're making the right decisions and you're keeping God first, because it's easy once you get there to the biggest stage to forget about who got you there. And so that was one thing I always try to do, just remember that I'm here because of God and what he's done in my life.
At what point did you realize coaching might be the next natural step for you? Because you went through this coaching journey. I mean, you coached a lot in college, a bunch of different schools, and then get to the NFL. And obviously having your dad as a coach, maybe you thought about that even before you were a player. But was there a point, maybe even during your playing career or after, where you said, I think coaching is the direction I'm headed to next?
Yeah, well, growing up, I always knew I wanted to be around the game. Initially, I thought I wanted to be a general manager, being a player personnel side of things. But I have to say, probably my 2006, when I was playing in Arizona, I began kind of drawing up my own playbook, based on all the teams I played, all the different offenses I was in Minnesota and Indianapolis and Arizona, and just started drawing up the playbook, what I would call formations, plays. And then one of the things I did was, during the playoffs, as a player, I would tape or DVR the games that would come on, the playoff games, and I'd go back and watch them. And as much as I could, I would do a scouting report and a break down a team and their defense, and then break down the other team. And then when the next game came, let's say the divisional game, I had broken down those teams during the week. I drew up a call sheet based on the coverages, based on what I could see. And I just I was the offensive coordinator. And so I'd go through and, okay, 2nd and 10, what would I call? It's 3rd down, look at my call sheet. So during the game, a playoff game, I'm calling out these plays. I'm pretending as if I'm the offensive coordinator. And that's when it kind of clicked, like, man, this is what I want to do. And then another story was after 2007, I played in Detroit. So I'm sitting there in the summertime, just seeing if I'm going to get picked up by a team or not.
Sure.
And there were no calls. And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching TV and the training camp clips. And I just had to do something. I'm like, every year I've been at training camp, I've got to do something. So I go out and I find a little Pop Warner team in Ahwatukee, Arizona. And I go out and I start helping, volunteering, coaching these 10, 11, 12-year-olds, Pop Warner.
Yeah.
And I got so involved in that I made a playbook for those kids and just got immersed in that. And we end up losing in the city championship 3-0 in overtime. And to this day, that might've been one of my toughest defeats I've ever had. And after that, I knew, man, I love just coaching, just working, helping young kids. And then I went on to coach college and now in the NFL. And it's just being a resource and helping guys become the best that they can be.
3-0 in overtime.
3-0 overtime, and I was offensive coordinator, so it still hurts. I couldn't find a way to score one touchdown, score 7 points.
How does a Pop Warner kid kick a field goal? That's what I'm thinking. If they get 3 points, he must have been a pretty good kicker.
Yeah, we got the ball first and missed the field goal, and they got it and kicked the field goal and beat us.
Isn't it funny? Looking back, I might say, come on, it's a Pop Warner game, Troy. And yet you just lost the Super Bowl, and that game, when you were a Pop Warner coach, might be right up there as one of the tougher losses.
Yeah, well, anytime you pour your heart into something and you give and you want the kids to be successful and want them to experience, then it hurts. And we're all competitors, but I still remember that because the plan was to win state and go to Orlando for the Nationals, and had all that planned and didn't work out. But it was a great experience.
So for you, Troy Walters, now the follower of Christ that is a coach, what's the biggest difference between your walk with the Lord that you had as a player and your walk with the Lord now that you have as a coach?
I just think now I'm more mature. I'm not only a coach, but I'm a husband now. I'm a father. And so when I was a player, it was just me. And it was kind of a narrow mindset, narrow world. I didn't have to worry about anybody else. And now man, I got to be the best husband, the best father. Those are the most important. And, every day, as you know, with kids, every day is a new day and new challenges, new trials. You learn. But the biggest thing about it is you always come back to, I can't do it without God. I can't do it without his strength, without his wisdom. I'm dependent upon him in everything. And that's where I am, life surrendered to him, understanding in order to be the best coach and husband and father, it's got to be through him. And I've got to rely and lean and trust and put my faith in him and hear him and get into his word and all the disciplines to grow my relationship with God to help me become the man, the father, the husband, the coach that I want to be.
So take me through that a little bit, that discipline, the discipleship, right? That's the word that we hear. It's a popular word in the church, but I think it's a vital word. And what God calls us to be is discipled by other people and through his word and through prayer and fellowship. What does that look like for you in your walk in and out of season? Because it might look different when you're in the grind of a season, but there's really no off season either. So how have you made that a priority in and out of season with your discipleship?
Yeah, the biggest thing is, number one, is just seeking God first. The beginning of the day, in season, out of season, make sure make sure I'm spending time in the Word. Make sure I'm hearing from God. Make sure before I start anything, before I leave my place, that I'm prayed up, that I've got a word, that I've talked to God, that I've listened to God, and just because you with kids and being a husband and a coach, I mean, you get busy days, and so you got to just make sure you're grounded and you really hear from him, and then making sure you're getting filled from him so that you can now go out and you can impact the people and the coaches and the players around you. And so it's really easier in season because you have a schedule, you kind of know exactly what you have ahead of you. Out of season, you have a little more time. You can procrastinate a little bit. Sometimes we don't work on Fridays, and so you might want to sleep in a little bit, and then you have the kids waking you up, and so it's just being consistent and making sure you set aside that time first thing in the morning to get with the Lord and hear from him, and then allow that to kind of fuel your day and to go out and do what God has called you to do.
Is there a verse that you've kind of clung to over the years that has been a lot to you, or maybe one even now that you've been into the word and God's been kind of speaking you through a specific Bible verse or passage?
Yeah, not really a verse, just the more I get into coach, and it's just that coaching is an assignment. It's an assignment from God, and you got to look at it as an assignment and not a job. And so as I look at it as an assignment, I got to be faithful in what God has called me to do. And it kind of, it helps me with every situation, being faithful, letting go at times and just letting God and there's some during the ups and downs, during a loss, understand this is assignment. This is where God has you, being faithful. There's times in my career that I've been fired. And once again, when I look at it as assignment, then it's not I've been fired. It's God's got another door. He's got another opportunity for me to go, another group of guys he wants me to impact. My assignment here is done. So now, God, where do you have me to, where do you want me to be? And when I look back at my time in Nebraska, when I was let go, I'm shoveling snow in the driveway, kind of like, what's next, guy? Where do you have me? Where do you have us? Now I have a family, I have 3 kids and wife, what's going on? And
Yeah.
I look back, man, and 2 years later, I'm coaching in the Super Bowl. That's just a praise, just praising God and just thanking him for where he's brought me, and understanding that he knows my future. And so that's kind of what God is working on me, just not to get too high, not to get too low, just understand it's an assignment. He's got me. It's bigger than me. I've got 4 kids, I got a wife. And so a lot of times we think that where I coach is because of me. No, he's got to get my wife to meet a certain person. He needs my kids to meet certain people, so it's bigger than just me coaching. And so that frees me up to just coach and just be free to just enjoy every moment of it.
So my last question is kind of a fill in the blank for you. And there's actually a book by a guy named Judah Smith called this in the way that I'm going to ask this question. But Jesus is blank to Troy Walters. Who is Jesus to you?
The I am, my everything. If I'm weak, he's strength. If I'm confused, he's wisdom. If I mess up, he's grace. He's mercy. He's love. I mean, Jesus is everything, and I can't do anything without him. And I'm grateful for our personal relationship that I have with him, and that in spite of my faults, and when I do screw up, he loves me no matter what. And he's done so much for me, and that's why I live, to glorify him, to honor him, and to give him the glory that he deserves.
It's beautifully said. He is Troy Walters, Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers coach. It's going to be hard to top last year, Troy, except for winning it all, which is a lot of pressure, I think, for a team to kind of come back and say, hey, the only way we can go up is to win the whole thing. But I think that's how any team would want it, right? Is to say, okay, listen, we're here because we got to win a Super Bowl. So all the best to you. I can't wait to watch what the Bengals can do in 2022. And thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Anytime you want me back, I'll be back.
You got it. Thanks, man.
Thanks.